Today, let's talk about a powerful idea through a simple story. It's about how true strength, the kind that actually lasts, is usually built when no one's around to see it. Do you ever get that feeling like you're putting in all this work, grinding away, but you're completely invisible? Meanwhile, other people seem to be getting all the credit and the high fives? If that sounds familiar, then this story is definitely for you. So, our story kicks off in a town where your reputation was pretty much everything. But real character, the stuff that matters, that was built far away from the public eye, in solitude, in silence. So while all the other craftsmen were out in the market, boasting, showing off their flashy work, our guy, a young blacksmith, he chose a completely different path. He decided his training was going to be a private thing, a promise he made only to himself. So what did this promise actually look like day to day? Well, let me tell you, it was not glamorous. It was a daily, relentless grind. Every single morning, before the sun was even up, he was in his forge, and it was freezing. It was a place full of constant setbacks. Iron cracking, fires just dying out. But every failure wasn't an end. It was a lesson. Every mistake taught him a little bit more, and every piece of cracked iron just built up his resilience. His strength was literally being forged from his heirs. Of course, all this quiet dedication didn't go completely unnoticed, but it wasn't admired. Nope. Instead, it was misunderstood, and it started to draw suspicion and even ridicule from everyone around him. This is what he started hearing. Voices full of doubt from the very people in his town. They saw him working alone and didn't see discipline. They just saw foolishness. They told him he just wasn't cut out for it, that he should just quit. But the voice inside his own head was way stronger than all that outside noise. He broke this massive task down into the smallest possible actions. This wasn't about some grand, heroic effort. It was about the simple, powerful idea of just doing the next right thing. One strike, one breath, one step. That was his formula for keeping going when everything and everyone was telling him to stop. And then came the test. A sudden, violent storm just slammed the town. The main bridge, their only connection to the outside world, started to buckle under the force of a raging river. And, as you can imagine, panic just set in. And this is where we see the real difference between looking good and being good. All that shiny, celebrated work from the other craftsmen, it was the first thing to go. It looked great, sure, but when a real crisis hit, it just crumbled. And right there, in that moment of chaos, the work that was done in the shadows was brought into the light. Those support beams that our blacksmith had been quietly forging, day after grinding day, they did their job. They held. He didn't have to say a single word. The strength he built in silence spoke for itself. Okay, so let's zoom out from this story a bit, because this builds into a really powerful universal principle. It's about so much more than just a blacksmith. It's about a fundamental truth of how we all grow. It all comes down to the power of consistency. And why is it so powerful? Because it's not about addition, it's about multiplication. Those small, tiny efforts that seem like they don't matter, when you repeat them with discipline, they start to compound. They build on each other, and that's where you get that unstoppable power. It's kind of like a seed growing these deep, strong roots long before you ever see a single sprout pop up. If you take only one thing away today, please let it be this. The most important work you will ever do is the work that gets zero applause. It's the prep, the practice, the lonely hours that build the foundational strength you're going to need when the pressure is really on. All right, let's make this practical. How does this whole story apply directly to your life, right now? The blacksmith's forge isn't just a forge, right? It's your desk where you study, it's the gym where you train, it's your office where you're trying to get better at your job. And the iron that he shaped, well, that's your skill, your talent, your character. And the storm, that's the final exam, the huge deadline, the unexpected crisis that's going to test everything you've built. So what does it really take to build that kind of strength? The kind that doesn't just look good, but actually stands tall when it's put to the test. Remember the blacksmith's cracked iron? Those weren't defeats, not at all. They were just essential pieces of information for his process. The only true failure is walking away from the forge completely. And please, never get discouraged when your progress feels incredibly slow. That tiniest effort, that one strike, one breath, one step, when you repeat it, that's what ends up moving mountains. People who refuse to quit will always, eventually, cross the finish line. So I'll just leave you with this question. That quiet effort you're putting in today, the work that nobody sees or celebrates, what is it building? Because sooner or later a storm is going to come. And the strength you forged in silence will be the only thing that stands.